Well, I'm excited, man. So, Corey Arnold, thanks for taking the time. I know you are probably we've had a lot of guests on this show, and I think this guy definitely has the most frequent flyer miles of anybody I've ever met in my life. So I appreciate you taking the time in between trips. I know you're getting ready to head out again here soon, just to talk to us.
Yeah, I got home last night. I leave again on Friday.
Oh, it's a rough life being an operator, man. I tell you.
Uh, it's a lot of traveling. Last year, I think I did 40 or 42 weeks on the road. So I stay in a hotel more than I stay at my house. That's for sure.
His Instagram account, it always cracks me up because he's always full of jokes, and it says part-time bump builder, full-time ball buster.
Yeah, well, it used to say for whenever I had that since 10 years or so, it
Yeah,
always just said I work for DirtWurx and I love hunting and fishing. These
yeah.
guys at work are just on me all the time. He's like, why don't you just say you're a part-time bump builder and a full-time ball buster? And I was like, that fits pretty well.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
there we are.
There we are.
I just changed that last year.
That's awesome. So Corey, like we've had on like Thad and other guys, you're obviously involved in the motocross and just motorsports industry in general. I know, with Monster Jam and other things as well. But, one thing that we like to try to do here on the podcast is get people who have interesting, day jobs or careers outside of just people who like to hunt and fish too. It gives us a good variety of guests. And you're definitely no exception to that, man. I know when I first started like really diving in to following Supercross again and following just that whole industry, you obviously came up with all the funny memes and the videos and stuff from the different races and your connections with everyone in the industry. And so I'm really excited to talk to you about both, really, because I know you're a big time angler and hunter as well. And so I think the first picture I saw when I realized that you were into it was that buck that you had on trail camera. I think he was like jumping up on all four legs were up the ground, and you
Oh
had
yeah.
a really cool like trail camera photo of that. And I was like, man, this is pretty cool. So let's try to get this guy on. I think we had just started the podcast really when I saw that. So I know we had to wait a while for your weekly trips all across the country to build tracks, but again, man, I'm super thankful for you to take the time today and talk to us. So let's go ahead and get into it. So you've been with DirtWurx, I think, over 20 years now.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, let's just go ahead and talk about your background, where you came from, how you got your interest into doing your full time career as well as hunting and fishing.
Well, my dad it starts way back when I was 4 years old. My dad bought me a PW50, which is kind of random because he doesn't ride, never ridden,
Yeah.
nothing. And we just traveled all over the United States, well, Eastern United States racing. I went to Loretta's a lot.
Yeah.
Got the best I ever did was sixth. But so my cousin Norm would always go with us every week, and he would work for Drew Wolf. I don't know. Have you ever heard of Drew Wolf? He used to own Action Sports.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
fast
so,
tracks now.
yeah.
That used to be Action
I'll
Sports.
say the norm thing is more sticks in my head for fast tracks now. But
Yeah.
yeah, the
So
action
that's
sports. Yep,
yeah. Norm's my cousin. He owns fast tracks.
yep.
But he used to work for Drew Wolf, and Drew was, I'm not really sure the whole story, but he was intertwined with Supercross here and there back when
Okay,
it was like Bill West. Before it was like one promoter. There
sure.
used to be several promoters of Supercross when he worked for Bill West, I believe. And the owner of DirtWurx, Rich Winkler, needed some help in Orlando Supercross in like 1992 or something like
Okay,
that. So we're 93. So Norm and Davey Hellier, which also lives in Gloucester,
yeah.
went down there and did it, and they just did a good job. So then they went to the next one. Before you know it, now they're just full-time track builders. So I graduated high school in 2001. He got me the job, and I've been working here ever since then.
I
So
love that.
that's how I got linked with DirtWurx.
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
basically just you gotta know some people to know some people, and
Oh, for
here I
sure.
am.
It's funny how that works sometimes. Did you ever like during that time? Were you ever interested in running equipment, or is it just the racing part that really drew you to the track?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, I rode motorcycles my whole life,
Yeah,
so, but there comes a point in time that you know you're not going to make it as a
yeah,
professional racer. So that was basically an outlet to stay involved with the sport. But I never ran equipment, I didn't
yeah.
even know how to run a forklift when I first started. And
That's
then,
awesome.
so I just basically I just watch how everyone runs equipment, and then when I got my opportunity, I knew how to do it. I just didn't know how to run
Yeah.
the machine to make it do what it was supposed to do. So it was like a very steep learning curve for a year or two
Oh, for
just
sure.
to figure it out, you know.
Oh, for sure, for sure. So you're saying you got started with DirtWurx in you said '01 or right after high
Well,
school, be '02.
yeah, it was the very beginning of '02. So
So by the time that you're running equipment, you got like the greatest person to ever get on the bike riding these tracks that you're building. Did you ever get a little nervous about seeing like Ricky and the guys back in those days as you were kind of the entry level, if you will, operator?
well, when you first at DirtWorks, when you first start out, you don't really run equipment.
Okay.
You put out all, you do the starting gate, you do like the finish line, the towers, the tough blocks, things like that.
Okay.
And then I did that for 3, 4 years. You know, then in between, you know, I'm practicing in the skid steer
Yeah.
or whatever. And then, yeah, you always, most nervous part is like when they do their hot lap,
Yeah.
like during opening ceremonies, because you got basically the best 4 or 5 guys in the world at Supercross,
Yeah.
and they don't know what you just fixed the whole track. They don't know, you know, obviously they trust us that it's going to be what they've been riding all day,
Yeah.
but you know, you're still in a machine. A lot of different things can happen. So this is all, and then you're always watering
Mhm.
before. So like, is it slick or whatever like that? So it
Yeah.
is a little nerve wracking. But after they get done with their hot lap, it's not too bad.
Yeah, the evening kind of settles in, and you guys can just get to doing what you do best. So, for a listener that might not be familiar, so Thad, when we had Thad on, Thad is more of your hare scramble racer, your cross country racer. Like he mentioned, he's been racing in woods at 30 miles an hour, seeing in deer scrapes and stuff.
Yep.
You remember that?
Yep.
So this will be a completely different step. So you and
It's all stadium.
it's all stadium, yeah.
Yeah.
So Ben, obviously, like Ben mentioned, Ben's not into the motocross sports as much. He's my angler. He's my bow hunter. He's my Jeremiah Johnson.
Yeah.
But, you know, so this I think you would probably be more inclined to know because when we were kids, this is the stuff that's on ESPN. This
Yeah.
is like the X Games style stuff where they're making the jumps. And so Corey is in a completely different realm there to where Thad's just kind of racing across the country in terms of the wooded areas and fields and stuff. And they're actually setting up paddocks and setting up a pad on the flat level surface to make these jumps. And so
Yep.
I kind of know the process and kind of how you guys get there. I mean, in terms of what I see on Instagram and social media. But if you can, kind of walk through, you know, what we have SMX coming up here before too long. So you're going to be leaving here shortly. You know, how long ahead do you guys get to an event, let's say A1 or Anaheim 1 or SMX or any of these races to where you're getting there, you're setting up, and then the process of building the track, laying it out, is that something that's started from the top or you guys kind of work it through or how's that all work out?
Well, typically at a normal Supercross, we fly on Mondays. So we'll fly in on Monday, stop by the stadium, make sure the equipment's there, things like that. Then on Tuesday morning, 7 a.m., 8 a.m., whatever it is for the trucking, and we'll just start hauling the dirt in. If it's a concrete floor, then it's super easy. We just
Yeah.
come off the walls straight, just make a horseshoe basically of dirt,
Okay.
and then we stockpile down the middle, make a pile in the middle, and then we just lay out. We work from the outside walls to the inside.
Okay.
That's just how most of the dirt's just in the middle. But you know, a lot of stadiums it's turf.
Yeah.
So the building or Feld Entertainment will send a crew in and they put double layer plywood,
Yeah.
like 6,500 sheets of plywood on the floor to protect the field. So then they'll get all the plywood in. Same thing, we'll start with the dirt, cover the whole floor with dirt when it's plywood. And then, so Tuesday we're building. Tuesday's not super, there's not a lot of track done on Tuesday because you know, we're spending half the day or 3/4 of the day just getting the dirt on the floor.
Yeah.
So then our main like go day is Wednesday. Like we have to get a lot of work done on Wednesday.
Okay.
Because, you know, on Thursday, you know, there's like Feld has 16, 17 semi loads of staging and tough blocks and
Yeah.
they have to do their job also. So Wednesday is a big day for us. So we try to get 3/4 of the track done on a Wednesday. So Thursday we're just finishing things, cutting whoops, and just getting out of the way so folk can get their stuff done. And then Friday we have press most
Mm-hmm.
of the day,
Yep.
and then we fix the track after press, get it watered, get it ready, and then Saturday's the
Saturday's
day
go
that,
time.
yep. So then, say the race is over at 10 p.m., we go in. If we have to take the dirt out, we clear lanes so Feld can get the Feld has to get all their stuff off the floor
Yeah.
before we can start hauling dirt. That's typically 5, 6 a.m. they get done, 7 a.m. So we'll start dirt 8 a.m. on Sunday, and we'll start getting the jumps out, and then we'll start getting the dirt off the floor, and we'll use excavators to peel the dirt off the floor. So that usually takes us 12, 14 hours on Sunday, and we get to bed on Sunday night, and Monday morning we're on an airplane
Yep.
flying
Right to the
to
next
the
one.
next place.
Right to the next one. And then God forbid you have the rainstorms like you did this year where you're trying to cover
Uh,
everything.
I think one of the worst years I ever had was probably 2005. It was the El Nino,
Yeah.
California.
Yeah.
But back then, I wasn't running equipment then. I was the production guy. So you go from, say, we went from Anaheim, it was a mud race. Then we'd go to Glendale, or back then it was Chase Field and Phoenix, the
Yep.
baseball field.
Yep.
All my stuff I have to work with is still muddy. So I have another mud race, putting all this muddy stuff out, washing it, cleaning it. And then you go right back to California and it's raining again. I think we did like 10 or 12 mud races that year. And it was,
That's pretty
you
well.
know, that adds hour, like
Yeah.
probably 10, 15 hours to just your work week, but you're already doing 60, 70 hours. So it gets insane hours.
Yeah, there was a we'll get into more some of that too, but so I went to Indy this year. As you know, Indy's notorious for having some rough soil. And obviously it's a football field too, so he has all those plywood sheets. I remember by the time we left Sunday morning, you guys basically by the time we got home, basically to Columbus, they had the thing completely like slate clean. It was like nothing, and then just like less than 12 hours, I just watched a race there. You know, it's over at 11 or whatever, and
Yeah, I think we started dirt probably 7 a.m. there. We were probably done by 4 or 5.
yeah, it's just like gone.
Is
But
it the
that
same design every time, or do you guys change it up?
Completely
Is there
different.
somebody that designs
Yeah.
these things?
So Alex Gillespie is in the
Yep.
process of buying Rich out, so he's only got 1 year left, and he's full-time owner.
Okay.
See, for shoot 30 years, Rich Winkler, the owner,
Mm-hmm.
the old owner of DirtWurx, he's designed every single Supercross track there ever was, basically. Besides like the Mickey Thompson days, way back in like the early 80s or
Yeah.
mid 80s, he never did those. But since then, Alex for like probably the last 4 years, he's designed every single track.
Yeah, so he's the one to blame. If he ever gets yelled at by Chase or Eli or any of the guys, you just send him to Alex, right? Like, that's not me, man.
Yeah.
I just push the dirt. He's the one that actually designed the track, right?
Well, Alex is super nice too,
Yeah.
and so like if they're yelling at him, he's gonna listen.
Yeah,
So if
yeah.
they're yelling at me, I'm like, I'm checking out. I'm walking away because I
Yeah.
can't, because I'll end up yelling back, or it's not good.
Oh, yeah, no.
We get into a big argument. I mean, realistically, the only time I can remember in the last 3 or 4 years of a big disaster was that triple that we had in Atlanta at the Speedway,
Yep.
and I think Hunter crashed on it on press, and the Jet, everybody, all those guys,
Yeah.
Eli, they were so mad about this triple, and I could see him over there. I was on the other side of the Speedway just watching him jump it. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a little sketchy, but Ross is like, I gotta go talk to him. I was like, don't go over there.
Yeah.
Do not go over there. He's like, why? I was like, look at him. Like, you can tell that they're pissed.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm not going over there.
No. No.
So I think Alex was in the office with like the Felt bosses at that time, Mike and those guys, and Ross went over there, and I could just see Eli. Eli's usually calm, but
Yeah.
Eli was not happy, and Hunter was not happy. So we end up changing it into just like a big double,
Yep.
and everybody was happy about it. I don't think part of the problem was it wasn't too far after the start, so they were scared that they're going to be side by side, and that's 100 foot.
Yeah, it was a
So
big
they
one.
did. So they didn't want to be, fourth gear wide open hitting the 100-foot jump
Right
10
next to
feet.
somebody. Yeah.
Right next to somebody.
Now, was there something this year too with Atlanta that you guys cut something down to, or is that the same one that you were talking about? I feel like maybe
Um,
I'm trying to think. I remember something was kind of cut down.
I don't know. I mean,
Just
we changed things
yeah.
here and there just to, if it's like the last jump of a lane, if it's kind of big, we'll just roll
Hmm.
it down. So if they don't make it, they don't crash.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah.
I mean, I've been doing this a long time. I've been over 300 and some supercrosses.
Yeah.
So
They
the
start to
tracks,
blur.
I can't really remember them anymore. But you ask the riders, you're like, what'd you think about the track of 2014? And they're like, yeah, that was so like I don't know how they
Yeah.
remember. They remember every single track. It's insane.
It is pretty nuts how they can think about that. This is kind of a two-parter too because it kind of goes hand in hand. So this year, we know. I remember watching this year. Like obviously Jersey this year was bad. Big time mutter.
It wasn't bad until the main event,
Yeah,
though.
until the main event. No, it looked good until the main event. Like, what's been, you mentioned the one and the El Nino kind of being one of the worst ones, and obviously you weren't running equipment yet, but, looking at this year, or looking at just the tracks that you've built, maybe here in the last couple of years, what's that one stadium that always is just, when you get there, you get like excited to be there. It's, the dirt is good, or the environment is conducive to having the big equipment. You're not having to like sneak in or whatever. Like what's been your favorite
Yeah.
track to build at so far?
Um, Anywhere it has a roof, I like.
Yeah,
If it's inside, I'm happy.
sure.
As goes for dirt, St. Louis has probably the best dirt.
Yeah,
I mean, Indy gets super, super ruddy,
yeah,
but to me personally, I'd rather work on dirt that's soft and ruddy. It's
yep,
just easier to work with, easier to fix. Now, if you go to like Glendale, even though it's inside,
yep,
the dirt gets so hard.
yeah.
It gets rock hard. And once it gets rock hard, it's almost impossible to fix. You have to get in there with the dozer and you
Break it up.
got to break it all up. And then it's all clumpy. So then you got to fix with a skid steer and then it gets hard again.
Yeah,
So it's like a,
cycle.
yeah, and then the way to cure that is like in Denver last year, Denver has like the worst dirt
Yep.
for us. It's outside elevation. It was 2 years ago it was a day race. It was just a disaster. It was like so dusty, it was rock hard. And so what we did was I would spot the jumps of the loader. So basically we'll lay the jumps out and then me and Alex run the loaders and Colton and Ross run the dozers.
Yep.
So they'll do one side of the track, we'll do the other side. So as I'd spot the jump, get it to the right height and everything with the loader, then I'd go get a bucket of sand.
Yep.
And then I would throw sand on it, and then Ross would finish it, and then we put more sand on it. And it helped it stay where it didn't get rock hard, but we work on the track all day.
Yeah.
So the more you work it, the more the sand gets mixed in with the dirt, and then it starts to get hardened up. So by the time the main events came around, it was back to hard.
Yeah.
But we've been brainstorming like an attachment for a skid steer that would, break where you could just back drag and it would
Yeah.
kind of like a ripper.
Yeah.
So we've been looking into different things to rip up the dirt instead of trying to use a dozer because it just takes so long with you got to wait for the dozer to track the whole thing, which takes a while, and you don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
So we're trying to figure out a way that we can do it all with a skiddy, like rip the dirt and finish it at the same time, where it doesn't take two people to do each jump.
Oh, for sure. Now wasn't there the attachment? And we were talking about Kevin Moran's here before we got started, but I think I saw in a couple of videos too from like the stands, like cell phone videos. There was the skid that had the Harley rake basically on the back.
So I think it's CMP attachments.
Yeah.
I think's what it is. It's a hydra bucket, and so 2 years ago, the one that Moran's has was Alex's.
Okay.
They sent it to Alex, and I don't know if Alex sold it to Moran's or CMP gave it to Moran, whatever. So now Alex has. Last year he got a brand new one, a custom one. It has DirtWurx on it,
Yeah.
and it's pretty trick. So yeah, it has a Harley drum on the back side of it.
Yep.
So you can, if it's super hard, a Harley's not going to do anything because it just bounces on the dirt because the dirt's just real hard. But if it's soft, so you just roll up to it and you have the Harley on and you roll down it and it just like tills it all in.
So it's like a bucket. I'm kind of using my hands for those people that are listening, but it's your typical skid bucket. And on the bottom side where you'd have like the bottom of the bucket, there's like a roller drum that kind of like tilts it up almost like a,
That's
kind of
cool.
makes it nice and soft. Yeah, so definitely anything that's indoor. I'm sure. Does Indianapolis speak to you just since it's close to home? Or
Yeah, that was actually Indy was the very first Supercross I did, and
okay,
it was 2002 Indy Supercross was my very first one,
and I
and that
tell
was the first Supercross I ever been to,
yeah,
and I'm standing on the floor and there's like Travis Pastrana and RC, and I'm
yeah,
like, holy.
all these great.
Actually, I raced Travis when we were younger, like on 65s and
Okay,
85s.
that's awesome.
But I mean, he was way better than I was. But I was still on the same track.
Yeah, the Indy this year was the first one that I attended. My son's 4, and we went last year. He was 3, and man, and I know you probably get it a lot, but you guys were just as important to him watching. You guys run the skids and you guys run the wheel loaders and stuff like that. That was the show to him too. So you guys are definitely a part of the pie for sure. I know you don't get a lot of love on the TV. I mean, a little bit of love on the TV broadcast. Typically, they're complaining about the track conditions, but
Yeah.
but from like the kids' perspective, man, it was just as cool to watch that. And one thing we haven't talked about too is you guys also do some of the Monster Jam stuff as well, kind of when they're on the off season of Supercross. We went to Wright State this year. I don't know if you had to be there, happened to be there in Dayton for a monster.
Yeah. In November.
Yeah, so we went to that Monster
Yeah.
Jam this year, and that was our first time as a family kind of going to an event, and that would be fun too.
Yeah.
It's probably not quite as technical. There's still probably its own challenges there with Monster Jam, but yeah, I mean, like I said, it's cool to have the podcast here to where we can talk to people that have this like cool passion.
Yeah, it's definitely cool.
So getting into
Yeah, but
go ahead.
believe it or not, the Monster Jam tracks are way more picked apart by the bosses than the Supercross
Really,
track.
really,
Yeah. So when we built the track, Supercross, it's like all feel the dozer, like how it feels when in the dozer, like the transitions. No one like that's us,
yeah,
that's just the way we've been doing it so long. That's just how we could tell. We could look at it and tell if it's the right angle with the pitch. It's not made. I mean, it's the gaps are measured, but
yeah,
the heights are predetermined, and
sure,
whatever height I put it with the loader, that's how high it is. So
yeah,
if it's supposed to be 3 foot tall, 4 foot tall, that's just by the fill in the loader. Yeah, that's enough dirt to make that thing 3 foot tall or whatever. But a Monster Jam, they pull tape measures.
really,
Yeah, like they want the angles of the jumps to be the exact same week to week to week. Because I don't know, I guess it's just they want
yeah,
consistency
sure, sure,
in their jumps, so they know what the truck's going to do when it lands at this pitch with this much cup in the jump.
yeah,
They know how the truck reacts, and I mean, there's probably 30 faces, like in a stadium Monster Jam. There's 30 faces that have to be cut to an exact measurement,
yeah.
which is it actually takes a longer time to build the faces of a Monster Jam track than a Supercross track.
See, and that's something that I don't think I'd ever realize without talking to him. Because when you look there, it seems. I mean, when you see a Supercross track, it's obviously super technical, and there's a lot of different aspects in it between lower jumps, loops, turns, banking, all that stuff. In the Monster Jam, you just kind of have your piles, and so that would be something that I wouldn't even have known that they do. I'm sure those are fun too, especially when the Monster Jam you're getting into like Nationwide Arena and the Nutter Center and these small events. I'm sure when they have the World Finals there and the bigger tracks and bigger speedways or bigger football fields and stuff. Like I think what was like Tampa or something like that. It probably makes it a little bit easier for you too to build those tracks.
Yeah, the Monster Jam finals this year was in Nashville.
Nashville, okay,
So
yeah.
yeah, so I went down there. I helped build it, and then I came home we built that thing like 2 weeks early.
Yeah.
Because they do so much press that's a really big event for Feld. They put a lot of time, effort, and money into that. So we got to build the track super early, and then they do press, and then they have music stars, and they do all kinds of stuff. So then I came home for 4 or 5 days, and then I went back down there. But yeah, the Nutter Center that you're talking about, Wright State.
Yeah.
I've done that for probably the last 4 or 5 years. I don't do any from January to May.
Yeah.
Really, no Monster Jams when I'm at Supercross.
Yeah.
But if it's in the summer, I'm generally every week doing some sort of Monster Jam somewhere. Man. So I just run the loader,
Yeah.
spot the stuff, and then when the truck flips over, I'll come over, flip it over, and drag it off the floor.
And they do too, man. Then just leave them there. Leave them there. Yeah, like I said, going there with my son this year, it was so much fun. You know, I mean, you got the guys flipping and crashing and stuff, and of course Gravedigger and El Toro and all those iconic trucks and stuff that are there, Maximum Destruction, and dude, he was loving it. He's got his toys and he's pretending. It's such a fun event. Yeah, I'm sure you know it, but man, like I said, you guys are for kids that age, seeing the loaders and seeing the skids, and we were this year at Indy. We were right off. We were about 8 rows off the whole shot turn. So as they're turning left,
first turn.
Yep, that first turn we're turning left, and then as the race went on, there was that extended turn on the far wall, and then chasing those guys would come right across the start. And you would clean up a lot of the track right there in terms of the starting gate, and starting run, if you will, and then obviously the turns. And dude, he was loving the skids right there, man. He was absolutely loving it. It's fun to watch these guys too. Like I said, with him being 4, he loves the whoops. Everything's a whoop. We had a couple little small bumps in our yard for his Stasic bike, and those are his whoops, Dad. And watching you guys teeter-totter with the skids over the whoops, it's so much fun, man. They're just like whoop, whoop, whoop.
It's cool.
Yeah, the whoops take the longest to fix, that's for sure. So generally, me or Alex fix the whoops because we have a few newer guys in the other skiddies, so it would probably take them a little bit too long. Then we have an hour or so to fix the whoops.
Yeah.
So usually me or Alex fix the whoops pretty much every week. But where you were setting, I was in the opposite caddy corner tunnel. That's where I was at. I fixed a triple the whole night.
Yeah.
That the triple was blowed out, and mainly the riders, they don't care about the ruts and the lanes as much as like the big jumps, the triple or the finish line. The
faces.
That's when they get sketchy on the one that was fixed the most.
I remember you posted a picture from that too, and those ruts we got. The TV didn't do it justice, man. I know when I walked by in qualifying sessions and stuff, I'm like, those were like a couple feet deep.
You can see, like when I go up to fix the face, it's basically the track between block to block. The inside of the track is 20 feet wide, and there was ruts from one side to the other side, and you could see their heels of their feet where they're dragging their feet up the face of it.
Oh, for sure.
And the triple 64 feet. So they're jumping 64 feet, and sometimes their feet are blowed off their foot pegs because of the ruts. So that's why, if you notice, we fixed that thing the whole night.
Yeah.
After every practice, it got fixed. In between each qualifying, it got fixed. The Indy's notorious for being super rutty, but last year that dirt got screened.
Yep.
So we got all the rocks out of it. Didn't have a lot of big rocks, but it had a lot of little rocks. So we screened that, so it fluffed the dirt up. So I think screening it just makes it a little bit softer. So this year, probably, depending on the weather, also. So it'll probably be a little harder this year.
Are you guys just like stockpiling that in a different location, or how do they handle the storage of the dirt?
Yeah. So what is the highway? It runs right around the building there. I don't know if it's 70 or what.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you go straight out the building, right on the other side of the highway, that's where the pile is.
Okay. And they'll just leave it there all year round.
Yeah.
Okay.
So some people think we take the dirt week to week, but Feld owns or rents a lot that just has the dirt pile in it all over the world.
That's wild.
Well, that was a question I had. Like, are they hauling in dirt every time one of these races? That's cool.
Every stadium has its own dirt.
Yeah, and it's all local.
It might be 2 miles away, or it could be 15 miles away. Wherever they could get a lot to put the dirt. So that's one of the biggest expenses is trucking of the dirt. That's a lot of money to get 6,500 yards of dirt in a building and out of the building.
Yeah.
So, like if we go to New Jersey, like you talked about that earlier with the rain, that's a union building. So all the people are union, but obviously we're not union, but
But the
they
workers
have to
are.
pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the stagehands, everybody's just union, and the trucks are union. It's really expensive to go in there.
I remember what was the one? Was it Jersey this year that you had to wait quite a while for the trucks to get here? I know. I mean, again, going back to your Instagram, it's always full of like funny videos and stuff. I think you had to wait a while at one of the tracks this year for the
Uh,
trucks to get in.
if I had $1 for every time I waited on a dump truck, I would be a billionaire.
You wouldn't be doing this, would you?
No.
I love it. I love it.
I mean, one year in Houston, they switched trucking companies because the old one got too expensive, so they found another trucking company. So Tuesday 8 a.m. we show up. There's no dirt. There's no dump trucks. They screwed us. No one showed up. This is it's a multi-million-dollar event, and there's no dirt. So everyone's panicking. The trucking guy's like, "Yeah, they're on their way." And so Dan, which is the Feld like track, like he is over all the Monster Jam dirt side, and he also handles like the equipment setup and the dirt of Supercross.
Sure.
And so he had to just tuck his tail and call the Hill Trucking Company and say, "We need some dirt."
Oh man.
But so no dirt showed up all day Tuesday. So we're already at work all day waiting on these trucks. So now what do we do? Like we could start on Wednesday, but we'd have to probably work straight through to get it done.
Yeah.
So he flew people in from all over the place just to come in there so they could haul dirt Tuesday night. So when we got there Wednesday, the dirt was in. So it really didn't put us too far behind. It's just crazy little things like a trucking guy can dictate, such a big event. There's 60,000 people going to come to this race, and there's one guy. It's just like screwing you over on the trucking that just dictates the whole thing.
I can't imagine the stress level of being someone that's trying to project manage all this stuff. Like, there's so many moving parts to it. I mean, getting the equipment and the dirt, like you said, the show doesn't stop. There's a TV schedule. Like, it's not stopping. You know what I mean?
No. Like even like you said, BetLife, they cleared this after the LCQ. They cleared the stadium because of lightning.
Yep.
So everyone's under the concourse, but we convinced them, let us keep working until it gets like really bad. So we all had there was like 5 skid steers out there, and we got the whole entire track fixed, and then we tracked it and rolled it in with the skiddies. That's why when you watch the main event, that's why there's this water standing in between instead of. So like that's why the race was still pretty good, because we got it fixed and got it hard before the rain really hit, and it lets the water run. As long as the jumps are hard, it shouldn't be too bad. But if we left it all ruddy and it rained on it, then it's going to be like water in the ruts, and then like if you looked at the race, the worst part was like the whoop pad, you know what I mean? Because we didn't fix the whoops, because see how mushy and mucky it was on all the jumps. That's how the whole track would have been if we didn't convince them to let us stay out there in the lightning.
Yeah,
basically.
We'll have to. This is going to be one of those episodes. I'll work with you. We'll have to find some clips and throw some clips over this to give people a really good idea, because it was a straight on mud race. I mean, those guys were throwing their goggles off like they couldn't see anything.
Oh,
RJ.
I walked around after the race, and shoot, I probably found 5 or 6 pairs of goggles just laying on the track, and I was just throwing them to the little kids in the seats.
Oh yeah, you remember RJ coming in hard right there at the end, and
hit the mud puddle.
Hitting. What was it? He hit Hunter or something, didn't he?
Hunter or Jet or somebody. I don't know.
Yeah, it was coming in hard. One of them. It's like he basically baseball slid his bike through the corner because it was just so wet and watery. Yeah, it was.
That's why you gotta like RJ, because he's not scared to send it.
Oh no.
That makes it entertaining, at least.
I was gonna say, before we switch gears and get into the hunting stuff, like who's been some of the guys here lately that have been fun to harass or fun to talk with? I mean, there's a lot of new talent, especially as we look at like Deegan and some of the upcomers coming in. Like who's been some of the funny clowny ones? Obviously Barsha kind of comes to mind a little bit as kind of a goofy guy, but who's been one of the ones that's like fun to harass?
I mean, they're all for the most part pretty down to earth.
Yeah.
We talk to Chase a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We talk to Kate a lot. Barsha all the time, because Barsha actually grew up with Alex.
Okay.
They live in the same area, so they're friends ever since they've been little kids.
Okay.
So they're all pretty cool. I've never even talked to Hayden Deegan. But we build Star's test track.
Yep.
So we have that connection with Star. So all their other mechanics and riders and stuff like that are, so Coker will get Jeremy Coker. He's like the 450 team manager. So, if Eli or one of those guys have a suggestion, he'll come to us a little bit, or,
okay.
And Larry Brooks, he works with Rocks, and, they don't tell us what we should do. They just say, hey, this guy is thinking that, this is usually on press day.
Yeah.
They're thinking this might be a little sketchy, or because we want to change the track on Friday, not Saturday.
Yeah.
So we prefer to have everything ready to go on Saturday. So,
yep.
Because we don't want, Eli coming to us on Saturday and saying, hey, this is sketchy after 2 practices, because, the practices are timed.
Yeah.
So if we change something in between the time practices, then the second practice, like the first practice, is useless, because the second practice is going to be so much different or faster. So we try to get everything changed on Friday afternoon after press. Press will have, mainly the factory guys. They'll have some privateers that ride the press, and then they ride the whole track. They give us their input, and then we go from there.
Okay. And shout out Cade for hitting that quad this year, right?
Yeah, we've been messing with each other for years. So he's a really good rider. He makes all the mains. So I always tell him I'm his coach, and he needs to jump his quads. He's like, I can't jump that, and I'm like, well, Eli just did it.
Yeah.
Deegan just jumped it on a 250.
Yeah.
So then if he jumps the quad, he'll tag me on his Instagram.
Yep.
Look, I jumped it. I did it, or whatever.
That's
so
funny.
yeah. So in Denver or Detroit this year, I was like, we went to the casino and I won some money. So I told Kate, I said, you max out on Pulp Fantasy points, I'll give you $100. So I picked him, and I was the best rider he had all year.
There you
go.
Then
I had to give him $100.
I love it. And privateer life, man, he'll take as much as he can.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if I've ever told you this, Ben, but so like Cade rides as a privateer, as several other guys do as well, but they can have sponsors and stuff, but not to the big levels like a factory team support, kind of like how Thad had the factory backing behind them. These guys are a lot of them are spending their own money, or they're out there hustling, trying to get different donor or sponsors, and Cade's one of them. So every little bit of money helps him for sure, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of Deegan, I just watched him. We mentioned Iron Man. I just watched him send the finish line. I don't know if I showed you that or not, but we watched him sizing that up for practice and qualifying, and he actually hit that thing. And I was like, this kid, I'm telling you what, man, he's got no fear at all for sure.
Yeah, I was listening to Reed and Bubba yesterday talk about it, and they said it was probably easier on a 250 because it's just wide open.
Yeah.
To make it, and they said on a 450 you would have to try to judge your speeds so you didn't overjump it or underjump it. So he said that might just been one of those jumps that's just full send on the 250 to make it.
Did you see him hit the 5? Go for the 5 under the covered bridge? That was more sketchy to me than the finish line jump, honestly.
So my buddy Isaac he's insane about Deegan.
Yeah.
Because I mess with him just saying, oh, he ain't nothing, just getting him worked up. And so every single video, every single week that somebody posts with Deegan, he sends me. So I've seen any video that there is on the internet in the last year, I've seen just because of Isaac.
It's been good for the sport, though. I think having young talent like that, the Lawrence brothers, obviously, and all the guys, I think it's been really fun for the sport to kind of help drive some more. Obviously, they have a huge YouTube channel and a lot of following, and so I think it's good to get it out there in front of more people, So definitely,
he's probably got more followers than all the other guys. I would assume he's he's like 1.4 million on Instagram.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. I joked earlier, the Star booth, like I didn't even really bother, because I like Kitchen and all the other guys too that are racing for Star, and so I went to go, try to get some pictures of their bikes and stuff, and there was like an hour and a half, 2 hours before autograph signing, and that thing had a 60, 70-yard line waiting for them to sign.
Crazy.
A 17-year-old kid, just waiting to sign his autograph.
I normally don't go out in the pits during like that time,
Mm-hmm.
but they've said that that's insane around the Star truck.
Oh my goodness!
They're gonna have to get a semi just for him. All those people.
Yeah, no
I couldn't imagine. Like, think about just like the other Star guys, Cooper or whatever. Like, that's got to be a little bit of a distraction, you know.
You would think.
Cooper's been on that team for 6 or 8 years. You know, obviously they have fans and they sign autographs, but there's nothing like what's going on out there now.
No.
It's crazy.
But let's switch some gears here. I know, this will give us a good halfway point, a little bit more than halfway point. But we have you on here, too. Obviously, you have the fun day job, but you're also into hunting and fishing. Is that something that you guys, just knowing where you grew up, is that something that you guys were always into, or is that something that you've...
Well, my family never hunted when I was growing up. I was like, this probably rubs people the wrong way, but I think maybe 16, 17 years old. And I remember my buddy Jesse's house. His family is, they're hunters.
Yeah.
And they're talking about deer season coming up or whatever. And I'm just listening. I'm like, that sounds pretty fun.
Yeah.
I was like, can I go with you, Jess? He's like, yeah. I was like, what do I need? I don't even know. I don't own anything. I don't own camo. I don't own anything. He's like, well, you need a hunting license and you need a tag and a gun. I was like, well, I didn't even know about hunter safety course or none of that stuff. So he's like, we'll go down to Kmart back in the day. This is in the 90s.
Yeah.
So he's like, we went down to Kmart. I bought my tag. I mean, I'm a minor. I'm only 16, 17 years old. Got a tag, got a hunting license, borrowed a gun, shot the gun 4 or 5 times, and went hunting the next day. So, we just hunted at his house. I'd sat with him, I didn't know anything about it. I'm wearing tennis shoes, jeans, and a coat, and his dad's orange. We're sitting up on this ridge overlooking this field, which, looking back, I don't even know why we're sitting there because we don't have guns that you can shoot that field. But first time ever hunting, these 2 bucks come out, and they're fighting and carrying on. I'm like, this is hunting? This is insane. I've never seen anything like this before. So the next day, I'm like, I'm going to sit in that field. I'm going to sit down there in that field. I'm going to kill one of these deer. So I'm down there in that field the next morning. And those gloves they're like gloves, but they're mittens at the same time.
They like flip over.
So I got those on. I'm sitting down there leaning against this tree and I fall asleep. I hear something. So I wake up, I look, and there's a doe. I bet I could almost reach out and touch her.
Wow.
But I have these mittens on. I can't get my fingers out of the mittens to grab, the gun. So how fidgety they are. So she sees me and she's gone. So I was like, the first 2 times I ever went hunting, I seen 2 big bucks fight, and I had a deer so close I could touch it sitting on the ground. I was like, if you can't be hooked to hunting after that, are you even human?
Yeah, no joke, man. No joke. No joke.
So that was my first experience with hunting. I would go maybe 1 or 2 days every year until I was, 20-some years old. And then, so where I'm from, it's a little different from where most people hunt. Our big thing is deer driving. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like deer driving.
Sure.
But, that's how, my buddy Alex, his girlfriend at the time, well, it's his wife now, her family, that's all they did was, it was like Christmas, you know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
Every year we'd go, it was a big 0 deer camp, and we would sit there, we'd hang out all night, we'd go deer driving all day, hang out all night. It was I'll remember that the rest of my life. It was so fun.
And that's one thing. I'm surprised we all live kind of close to the same area. We're all there in Perry County, and that's a staple.
Yeah, everybody does.
Deer driving is a
you hear about it
staple.
all the time.
But here's the thing. I don't think we've really even talked about deer driving on the podcast so far.
Nope.
And that's what I grew up doing. That was my first hunting experience, was just being a pusher. I'm just walking. If I happen to catch something, I do. But yeah, my family does it every year. And so it's definitely one of those things that's just a staple in this area, as well as other states too. I know like Doug
Wisconsin
Dern.
and
Yeah,
stuff.
Wisconsin, exactly. So like Doug Dern on Meat Eater, I know that was they did the deer drive there. I know the Meat Eater did some stuff there in PA for that Flintlock muzzleloader season. They did some deer drives there with those guys. And so, yeah, that's your story being in the high school, doing the deer drives. There's some people may be rubbing the wrong way, especially the diehard enthusiasts that want to plant the plots and do only shoot the monsters. But for a majority of folks, and especially in our area, that's how a lot of people got started, for sure. For sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically they taught me pretty much everything about hunting, There was probably 10 or 12 of us, and 4 or 5 guys a set, and 4 or 5 guys will line up. And I mean, we never really killed any giant deer.
No.
We kill a lot of doe, kill a lot of deer, but if you're going to kill a monster buck, it's not going to be on deer drive unless you're extremely lucky.
Yeah,
it's going to be sitting in a tree stand with a bow.
Yep.
And hopefully you get a hot doe run by it. That's how you're going to kill a monster buck.
Well, yeah, you definitely know it's gun season around here for sure. You hear them blasting all over the place, won't you?
Yep.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'll be sitting in my. I generally don't like sitting in a tree stand during gun season, but where a lot of the area I hunt is nobody really hunts around there, so I'll sit, and it'll be dark. I won't even be able to see the ground, and people are shooting. I'm like, what are they shooting at? How can you even see right now?
No joke, man. No joke. I try not to get in the tree. Well, I mean, like you though, I'm kind of hunting on my own piece of little small property or hunting on the permission property that I got on. But yeah, I try to stay off the ground during gun season too, unless someone invites me out for a deer drive or something like that. We're both Sheridan graduates. Monday we get off of school so we can start that first day of gun season. So. It's a real thing for sure, man.
I didn't really hunt
deer
in high school, so I didn't.
You enjoyed that day off though, didn't you?
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. A lot of people got their start that way, and of course, it's something that you've continued. Like I mentioned earlier, you the first time seeing you had some pictures of some bucks on there. I know you're doing a lot of like food plot stuff. I don't know if I haven't seen anything so far this year. Have you gotten any time to get out and do food plots or manage?
Well, I think last year I got in the tree and maybe 5 times. That's how I only had time. I got 3 kids also, so it's not a whole lot of time there to any deer hunting. But last year I had my plot in, and my fiance and I are down there checking the food plot, seeing how it's coming up, and we start smelling something. I'm like, what is that smell? We drop right over to the creek. There's a dead buck.
Oh man!
So I call ODNR. Try to get, it was a decent buck. It had been a giant this year, and see if I can get a salvage tag or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So they forward me to him, and then he calls me back the next day, and I'm like, yeah, I got this buck. Obviously I took pictures and video of it, and I was like trying to get a tag for it so I can take it home or whatever. He's like, man, EHD is hit. He's like, what county? Like, where you at? And I'm like, well, Trimble Township and Dover Township, that's where I live, Gloucester area. Yeah. He's like, it's probably one of the hardest hit areas in the state with EHD right now. He said he's getting 30 to 40 calls every day for tags.
Yep. Wow.
So, I went from, I run 15 cell cameras in those properties, and I would go from, I don't know, probably 15 doe and 15 bucks, different deer herds. And by the end of last year, I was getting maybe 1, 2 does, no bucks. I think This year I've had my cameras up out there for 4 or 5 months now, and there's 2 doe. That's it. No babies, no bucks, no nothing. So I think it pretty much wiped that whole area out. Now there's a few little bucks behind my house. My neighbor lets me hunt that. I don't know if where I got that picture of that buck you just said running that same property. They're not even that big. I don't know. I don't really have nothing to hunt, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
There's one scraggly little 7-point that I'm thinking about making it my target to try to at least get him out of the gene pool.
I mean, when you're gone, 30 some weeks of the year, you probably just want to take every opportunity you can to hunt. You know what I mean? Like someone in your situation. I mean, if you have the choice to be picky, I would. But if you don't, then you just gotta get out there and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, that's what the guys I work with say. I'm weird because I just like quiet. You know what I mean? After I worked a hard 12, 14, 16-hour day, I get in the van. I just want it to be quiet. But those guys, they're younger, 20-year-olds. They want music. So that's my form of, quiet. It's just going out there, sitting, waiting till the woods wake up. There's nothing more peaceful than that, that's for sure.
There really isn't, and I would echo that too. I think, like, coming home from Ironman or coming home from Indy, my son slept most of the way Sunday morning coming home from Indy, but I don't think I turned the radio on the entire drive home, 4 hours. Like, the last thing you want to do for me is hear noise after you just got done sitting in a stadium, at 90, 100 decibels all day long. You're drowning out, your ears are burning. But yeah, like you said, there's really nothing more peaceful than that first sunrise or sunset. I mean, I like them both equally, just watching things wake up or watching things kind of fall asleep for the night. It's nothing better.
Yeah, that's probably why a lot of people do it,
Yeah,
get out, peace and quiet.
There's more to hunting than just the trophy of an animal or the kill or the harvest or whatever, like sitting there and, or, taking a book and just being quiet or, watching Ohio State football games on the phone like I do. But, there's definitely more to it for sure than just killing something. And for someone that's in equipment like him all day, I can definitely see the appeal to that for sure.
Yep.
Some of the best snaps are in the deer woods.
Oh, man, no joke. Now, Ben and I both saddle hunt, so we our napping situation's a little bit different. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Have you seen the saddle hunting?
I've never done it, but I know a few people that do saddle hunt.
Well, now you got two more. So we both used tethered products, and my naps are not quite as comfortable as what they would have been in a like a lock-on stand or a ladder stand. But
I can't nap. I can't nap in it.
No.
I mean, if I had something to like lean my head back, I might be able to, but I just can't. I can't get comfortable enough to nap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm always, 45 minutes to an hour before daylight. I get up in the stand. I'm going to set all day. About 10 o'clock, I'm like, man, I need a nap. So, I usually hunt ladders. Sometimes I hunt to hang on, but I'll just take my hunter safety system and I'll just make it so the strap's tight and I just sit there and sleep.
You're like the kid in the car seat with its head all like hung over.
Yeah. Probably. I've always wondered, like, how many big bucks has walked by me when I was taking a nap.
No joke.
I guarantee. I bet there's at least one that's walked right past me.
Oh, for sure. Or how many squirrels woke you up from a nap thinking that it was a big buck is probably the other thing too.
Yeah. Yeah, you might only go to sleep. That's not like you're napping for an hour, but it might be like 5 minutes, and then you hear something, and it felt like you was asleep for 2 hours.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I'll never forget when I first really started getting into bow hunting. Like I did the same with you, like in high school, where we would go out with like an ex-girlfriend or something and do a deer drive or whatever. I shot my first deer when I was 16. Basically, was something like that. But getting into bow hunting and getting in there the first thing in the morning, this would have been, like 2016. You hear it below you, like that there's a deer or something below you, but it's still too dark yet. And man, going back to those mornings, it gives me chills just thinking about what I felt like during that time. It's like, oh my gosh,
it's dark and you're hearing them. You're like, just walk slower. Mm-hmm. You don't want them to walk out of your sight before it's daylight.
Yeah, I had one the other last year. I hunted over with one of our pro staff members, Taylor Honert, and we'll have him on here probably in a few weeks. But he's been on the show a couple times, at least once. And I had a doe come into this little bait area that he had with some corn, and she knew that something was goofy by just seeing me or spotlighting me or whatever. There wasn't a whole lot of back cover. And it was dark. This is like probably 6:37 at that point. It was getting really dark. And she just walked back. I just heard her walk back and forth. I didn't want to mess up his spot. It was like he invited me out and stuff. I'm like, hey, can you bring the quad over here and like kind of run her off a little bit? Get her some natural noises, and I'll just sneak out. You just leave it running. I'll just sneak out. We'll head out of here. But yeah, man, there's nothing like it. What's been one of the more memorable hunts that you've had so far since you started back then?
Probably for the wrong reasons, but I used to film. Well, I still do a little bit. All my hunts.
Okay.
I just have a camera filming. Well, I could hear something across my food plot running around, so I grunt at it. And this had a bunch of bucks that were just like basket racks,
Mm-hmm.
So this buck comes out. It's almost end of shooting light, and it's out. I'm filming it, looking at it. I'm like, I don't know what buck that is, and I was like, it's probably one of the basket racks. It don't look real wide. That thing comes right across food plot, 30 yards. I don't even pick up my bow. I'm filming it. Get home, hook up my camera, because with your eyesight, it's usually the other way. My camera made it look brighter than what it
Mm-hmm.
was in person. So I got it hooked up to the TV, and that's buck comes out, and I'm like, oh no, I just passed. I just passed
Oh no.
kicker. I called him kickers, and he wasn't nothing special. He just had like 8. He scored. The neighbors got a shed. He was like a 166, and I just let him walk right in and walked right out. I'm like, no way. I've hunted this deer for, that deer was probably 10 years old when the neighbor finally killed him. He was only like 150 something when he killed him. He was
Yeah.
probably 10 years old. I had trail cam pictures of that deer for 4, 5, 6 years. I don't even know. And
You let him pass.
I allowed him walk right through the food plot and walked right. I didn't even pick my bow up. I just let him walk. I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing that? But that was probably like, he was so hard. He was super smart, but I seen him. I could have probably killed him multiple times. Me and my cousin Philip were going to fill up a feeder. I don't ever take my crossbow or a bow with me to fill the feeder. I just don't want to getting beat up in the side by side. So we go over the hill to the feeder. He's standing at the feeder at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, just staring there. We drove 20 feet from him. He just stood there, ate out of the feeder, and walked away. Like, if I had my bow with me, I could have got out of the side by side and shot him. That happened probably checking cameras 3, 4, 5 times. I could have shot him if I had a weapon with me.
Wow.
But you would think I'd get smart and take it with me, but I just, that stuff's so expensive. I just don't want it beating around in the back of the side by side.
I don't blame you. Go ahead.
So my most memorable hunt is when I let a buck that I chased for 6 years walk right past.
What's the equipment? You were mentioning the crossbow and stuff. What's the equipment looking like these days? What are you taking with you?
Well, when I had a lot of time to hunt, I had an elite hunter back in the day.
Okay.
But I don't have time to shoot targets all day long, so I don't want to go out in the woods and sit in a tree stand and not know if I can shoot good. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's so, in my opinion, it's pretty unethical to
100%.
not be 100% ready with a bow. So I have a Mission Sub 1 crossbow is what I have now.
Okay.
But I know I'll get flamed for that too. A crossbow, deer driving.
So we have.
Hey,
I'm telling you right now, you are the stereotypical hunter right now for this. But in all seriousness, no. I mean that is something that we've talked to. He said Mission. That's 10 Point.
Yeah.
And so we actually had Ben and I drove up to 10 Point there in Mogador, just south of Akron. Well, yeah, east of Akron, I guess. And Randy Wood, who showed us around, he basically said the same thing, and we posted that on TikTok, and it kind of got flamed a little bit too. But his point was like they see a curve between like kids that are younger getting into crossbows, and then it kind of falls off when you get into high school and you're in college, and you're younger and you're more eager to learn and use a compound bow. And then as we get to our age, where it's you're in your late 30s, 40s, like you're busy, you have 3 kids, like you're not home 3/4 of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Like we would much rather see you out there with a crossbow hunting than not being out there at all. And like AJ said, our industry is so beats up each other so much, and we have all this outside pressure from other anti-hunting groups there's no reason to judge someone using a crossbow or not. Like whatever Corey wants to do to kill a deer legally and ethically, like that's your choice, man. Like I can't blame you at all to using a crossbow.
Yeah.
We set up a 10 Point for Brian Hartline, coach at Ohio State. Yeah. He's extremely busy. We set that up? We talked about it on the podcast with him, but we set it up on like a Wednesday or Thursday. Had it to him by Friday, and he used it that night and killed a buck that night with it.
Yep.
I mean, he had one opportunity, one chunk weekend there to hunt where they didn't have a game, and the crossbow is what solved him and got him out there and let him harvest a nice buck. And so, dude, by whatever means possible, I don't care if anyone flames because they're just wrong. They're just wrong.
Yeah. Well, they should be happy because you're doing what you know you can do ethically. You know, like you said, you don't have a whole lot of time to practice with the compound bow, so to take a deer with a crossbow, that's what you need to do, and that's fine by us. You know, so it should be
100%.
fine by everybody as long as you're doing it ethically.
No one's getting more flame than Dustin Huff for taking the second largest whitetail ever recorded with a crossbow.
Nah.
You know, but
I'm not gonna have to worry about that because there ain't no. That
well, I mean, and we did have conversations about EHD too. We had Dr. Mike Tonkovich. He's one of the ODNR. He's a biologist or he's basically just says he's a desk jockey now anymore. He doesn't get to get out in the field as much, but. We had him on talking about EHD in that area. He's down in Athens, their office down there off State Street, and yeah, I mean we got hit hard. I never did follow back up, but like I said, I think he said if the does or bucks or fawns for that matter survive it, that they will have like a build up immunity with it as well. So hopefully we see some resurgence in numbers this year, and we'll tell that by the harvest data if it's looking any better than what it did last year for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figure it's going to take at least 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I got that area, that property I hunt, for the last 10 years. I've never had a problem with not having at least 1, 2, 3 shooters.
Yeah.
And I can't even get a picture. I mean, granted, they might not be walking by the camera, but when you have 15 cell cameras on 120 acres, sooner or later a buck's gonna walk by there.
Right.
And I haven't got one picture of anything with antlers on it.
That's wild. He's really got like a 220-inch deer down there. He's just hiding it from us all. That's what he's really got.
Yeah. If I had that, I would not say I had a crossbow.
He's like, I'm shooting with a damn recurve, baby. Let's go.
I'm spear hunting.
Yeah. Well, you can't say that either. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But let's switch gears here a little bit because I want to give you some time to talk about the fishing side. I know that's something that you're really into too. Ben, you weren't in here, but we were talking about some of his cat fishing there in his definitely public riverway, not a paid lake at all. But if you can, let's because I know we were talking about some custom rods and stuff. Ben's our resident angler here.
Yeah.
Some catfishing is something that
I don't really catfish.
Yeah.
I do on occasion, but I primarily go after smallmouth and largemouth bass.
Corey might switch your ways here for you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt that it's fun.
Oh, yeah.
You're reeling in a giant fish. It's got to be a blast, adrenaline rush.
Oh, for sure. Let's go ahead and start getting into what got you started with that.
Well, fishing, same thing. Just my buddy Jesse in high school. His family is well connected with all these farmers. We just go fish farm ponds, catching 4 or 5 pound bass out of a pond. That's basically what we did. We would go. There's a federal creek. I don't know if it runs into the Hocking, but there's a federal creek, and we'd have his mom take us down and drop us off 3-4 miles down the creek, and we'd just wade this creek all the way back to his house. We'd catch smallmouth, creek chub. It didn't matter. You'd catch all kinds of things on little rooster tails or whatever. Mm-hmm. So that's what really got me started in the fishing. I never really catfished until maybe the last 8-10 years. I don't, like he said, I don't fish out of a river, but I pay lake. I know a lot of people hate that, but there's a pay lake 3 minutes from my house. I'll go out to the lake, I'll cast net some shad, I'll go out to the pay lake, and I'll just go out there at 6 o'clock in the morning. Nobody's there.
Yeah.
And just fish, relax, quiet time.
Yeah.
And fortunately this year, it's been pretty good out there. I've caught a lot of 30s, caught one over 40. And actually I caught one 72, but that was at a different place. So that's just what I do. I use a 10-foot or a 12-foot rod and cast as far as I can and hope for the best.
And so you're using casting net bait fish for that. You're not using like frozen junk bait or anything like that.
No, I just my go-to is just shad.
Shad.
That's just what's best out there. Shad head usually. Actually, the biggest fish I caught on was went over to the creek and caught some creek chubs. I caught about 41 something on a creek chub.
Nice.
So, but usually it's just shad, just catching on shad.
Do they have those out there as a separate pond or something, or do you just go to the creek and cast
The
it?
shad, I just get the shad out of the lake. I live right by Baroque.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, I just go out to the dock and casting that 10, 15 shad, and on the way I go.
Awesome.
That's something we
I
should
don't
try.
do very good on, if I have leftover shad or something, sometimes I freeze them,
Yeah.
but I don't do good on frozen bait.
Oh, really?
It's just weird. Like when a shad has a blue dot on the side of it, if that blue dot's not blue, I don't catch anything. It's weird.
Oh, really?
I don't know why.
Yeah.
So if they're fresh, if I take it out and it's still alive and I throw it out there, it's 100 times better than if it was froze. My opinion.
Yeah.
What's the rod setup looking like? What kind of line and hooks and all that stuff are you got?
So I have my newest rod is a 12-foot Atrix that John Hubbard built.
Yeah.
He's an Ohioan. I got an Abu Max 60 on that thing. Usually I run a Komodo 364 reel. And then I have Chris Schatz. I think that's how you say it. He makes a braid that sinks.
Okay.
So I'll run 80-pound braid because you want if you're fishing with a bobber, you want your line to sink. So if it's windy, it doesn't just take your stuff all over the place. But Suffolk's 832 80-pound braid will also sink. But it's really hard to find a braid that will sink. So that's the only two I know of that will actually sink. All the other braid just float on top of the water.
What's your hook? What your preferred hook?
I usually just use a 5 or 6 Gamakatsu.
And
I don't use circle hooks or any of that stuff.
Okay.
I know a lot of people use circle hooks, but I just never was a fan of a circle hook.
what about knot? You have one that you prefer over all of them for the hook?
What is it, the Palomar knot, or
Okay.
how you say it?
Yeah,
Is that how you say
Palomar.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I always use. It's super easy and super fast, and
Yeah.
I've never had a knot break.
Cool.
Yeah, that's
A lot
your,
of
that's your
people.
love language now, baby.
Yeah, a lot of people like knot wars, like, oh,
Yeah.
the Palomar sucks and this and that and whatever. But hey, man, if it works for you and you never had one pop off, that's what you need
Nah.
to use.
I mean, if you got a 40 pound catfish, that's a lot of weight and a lot of head shaking, and I've never had a knot break ever.
I think it really just depends on the type of line. Like a lot of guys say, Palomar will burn fluorocarbon up and it'll snap at the knot. But with you're using straight braid, so it's not really going to matter. Some guys say that. Some guys say that if you tie it right, you won't burn the line, no matter what you're using, and you shouldn't have any issues. So it's really just ultimately the person tying the knot at the end of the day. But yeah, you just got to use what you're comfortable with, and that Palomar knot's super easy to tie, and like you said, it's quick.
How Ben doesn't know anything about Supercross. I have no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah, that was French to him. Everything I said, just like the Supercross.
That's a knot.
Yeah.
Tying my shoes is about as in depth as a fishing knot. It's like,
Yeah, you just gotta get the bow system. That way you don't have to tie. You just click your shoes.
There you go.
Exactly. That is the ticket. I do have a pair of shoes like that. Yeah. What's the one that you always tell me to you're trying to get me to just for the. So I have a little small like scum pond behind the house, and we catch like 1 pounder, a little largemouth or something in there. Nothing crazy.
Mm-hmm.
What was that line that you were telling me?
The line or the knot?
The knot.
Uni.
Uni knot. Yeah, uni knot.
Yeah.
Would that be something that probably wouldn't work for? What's the different? What guess what would make the Palomar knot? You said.
Well, no, like he's just using straight braid, so it doesn't matter what knot you tie.
Okay.
As long as it's some type of fishing knot, I don't think.
Yeah, I use Yuzuri leader. I can't remember exactly what it is. It's like 60-pound Yuzuri.
Okay, so
you're say it? Yuzuri. So I got a leader, like a 18-inch leader that I have below a swivel.
Okay.
And then so I am running some mono.
Oh, gotcha.
I think it's mono. I don't know. I just buy it and put it on there and throw it out.
There you go. Now, how much of that kind of stuff do we carry? A lot of the cat stuff here? Or how?
Yeah, we've got a bunch of stuff over there at the store. Yeah.
Next time you're up, we'll hook you up.
Yep.
Make sure you stop up and see us for sure. We'll sell you some crossbow bolts too while you're at it.
Yeah. Well, I don't ever shoot them. So
Yeah.
I
He's
don't-
just shooting. He's like, yeah, I need a new string. Why, did you shoot too much? No, I just got dry rotted from sitting here for no.
yeah. Yeah,
um,
like I said, I got 5 days in the woods last year, and that was it. So I leave Friday. I go to Charlotte, then straight to Chicago, straight to LA, straight to Glendale, and I come home October 1st, I think.
yeah, it's rough.
And then October 4th, I'm going to Star to do their track.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have like
Excuse me.
four or five monster jams, and my last monster jam is November 11th. So I have the first time I'll be in the woods is probably November 12th or 13th.
Man.
Well, if you need someone to come over and take care of the scrub bucks for you, we're happy to do so.
Yeah.
We'll save you the 160 again, like you did yourself. No,
Yeah.
man, I just couldn't. Like I told you, there's been a lot of people we've had on. I don't think anyone's as busy as Corey.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of work. A lot of traveling, and that's a lot. That's a lot to deal with.
Well, I did 16 supercrosses this year, and then I also do Subaru car stuff. I did with my buddy Petey. He's got like a little niche with them where like they have a dealer meeting or whatever, and then we go in and build nothing major, just like a up and down hill and like a teeter totter where the cars like two wheels are off the ground, two wheels are on the ground.
Yeah.
So I do that stuff too. So not only Monster Jam and Supercross, I also do a little bit of car track building, I guess you would call it. So I've been over to the Subaru factory in Indiana, and we built one at their facility.
Okay.
And then we just did one. My last one I did was in Nashville, actually, after the Monster Jam stuff. We did a Subaru out in the parking lot.
This is like a demo thing for press or something, so they can see how.
No, well, we built one in, believe it or not, Malibu, California, at this winery. Built this. It wasn't like a course. We just built like I don't know if it's on my Instagram or not. Anyway, we built like a fake creek and a waterfall, and this was like 2-3 years ago. And it was for the introduction of their e-car electric vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So we did that for like a launch. So basically they just have like a bunch of like magazine people there that are, reviewing this car. But the last one I did in Nashville was for it's like a dealer meeting. So like if you're a car salesman of Subaru, you have to go to these meetings to be like certified, I guess, to sell their cars. So all these dealers from all over the United States came there, and then the dealers, the salesmen, and the owners, whoever they are, they just drive the newest car that they have out. It's not for like magazine. That one's for no magazines or no public or anything like that. It's just a closed event for dealers, and they just they have a road course, and then they have a rally gravel road section. It's just for them to learn the vehicle, I guess.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, that's cool.
That was the other thing I was going to mention too. I know you probably don't do nearly as much anymore just because of how busy you are, but you do some private work too. You mentioned Star. Obviously, that's a big factory team that's having you guys out there. Not so quote unquote private, but I mean I know you've built some private tracks and stuff around the area too, right?
Yeah, actually, the team Thad rides for Coastal.
Yeah.
We built that. Me and Norm built that motocross track they have at their property during COVID.
Yeah.
So like Supercross was shut down, Monster Jam was shut down, nothing's going on. So Denny had us come up there and build that. I think it was more for his kid because his kid used to race, but I think Thad and those guys all ride there occasionally. Private tracks. I haven't done a lot of private tracks. We did when I first started. Did Yamaha test track in California, but before my time, DirtWurx used to do all the test tracks because Rich lived in Corona or Mission Viejo, which is Corona is where all their test tracks are. So they used to do Honda, Suzuki, Yamaha, all of them, all the test tracks DirtWurx used to do. And slowly he moved back to New York, and it's a lot. It's really time consuming to do the tracks out there because you have to have somebody to maintain them.
Yeah.
But Star, they have their own track guy.
Yeah.
They have a guy that Star's facility is Ricky Carmichael's old property.
Yep.
So there's a house there. The track guy lives in Ricky's old house or whatever that house is, and he just maintains the track. So it's good for us because we don't have to have somebody wherever these tracks are to maintain them. So we go down there. We have 2 tracks. We'll build one track and they're riding the other one, and then we'll flip them. We'll go over there and they'll start riding the new one. Last year we built it it was pretty late last year. We built it in November. So they were right in the middle of their boot camp. So it was kind of a rush to get done. You know, they wanted to ride new tracks. And so the thing that we can offer, but that other track builders can't offer, is where Alex designs the tracks. So we can build them a track from next year. So when we go down there, we're probably going to build them Anaheim 1 Supercross track. So the riders that are racing Anaheim 1, they're gonna. I mean, obviously it'll be slightly different, you know, here or there, but for the most part, the layout's going to be Anaheim 1 or whatever track that we build them.
That's cool. Good little step up.
Yeah, I'm sure other teams are probably taking advantage of that as well too. You know what I mean? Or if not you, maybe other people. You know.
They have. There's several other track building companies. I mean, they can get their hands on a blueprint, but it doesn't have any of the numbers.
Yeah.
So the gaps. I mean, if you're a good track builder, you could probably look at it and say, hey, this is 24 feet, 28 feet, whatever it is. So, I mean, we're probably the only company that builds tracks with a loader and dozer. That's how we move the dirt, with a loader and a dozer. Pretty much everybody else, all other track builders, they use a track hoe and a dozer.
Yeah.
So all their transitions are more mellow because basically they just put in a dirt pad and then they carve it out with an excavator. But we start with the flat pad
and then build up.
And then we build up. So they dig down, we build up. So the transitions are a little bit different and stuff like that. We what was that? When was the last time Webb won his title? 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
Two. Almost
So,
like 2.
So he was struggling a little bit. He wasn't winning. And it was when we had those residency races where we would do like 3 races at Indy, and then we did 2 races in Orlando where we did multiple races. So Alden Baker called us and wanted us to come build a track because I don't know if they were struggling with bike setup or Cooper just wanted us to come there. I don't know what it was. So we went to Alden's, which is a pretty prestigious place. You know, that Ricky's trained there. Pretty much everybody, if anybody's ever trained at Alden Baker's, that's won titles. So we built a track there. I can't remember, 2000, whatever it was, 2020 or 2021, whenever that year was.
Yeah.
And he came after that. We built the track. He came out and ended up winning the title. I can't remember who was winning the points. Eli probably, or Roxon maybe. I don't remember.
Yeah, I'll say one of those two.
Well, so he came back and won the title. So
if Cooper,
we ain't been back.
You ain't been back yet. Well, you're going to Star, so you might be getting. Yeah, there you go. So you'll get to hang out with them some more, right?
So we'll do two tracks at Star in October, and I think they want us to do it again on one of our breaks. But so there's only 6 DirtWurx guys, so it's tough because it takes 6 guys on Supercross, so we don't have just somebody that can go off and build a private track during Supercross.
No, for sure. Yeah. So when Coop comes back to Star this fall, which is like one of those Sexton secrets, right? And he wins. You guys are the reason.
It was us.
You guys. I mean, he might as well share some of those winnings for you for sure, right?
Yeah. I'll tell him I need a percentage. No.
Are you excited to get back to the LA Coliseum? And
I've never been there.
Oh yeah, I'm excited to see that. It's kind of like
when,
a throwback.
When was the first one in the 80s? Early 80s. Yeah, it's going up in a peristyle and everything there.
Yeah, they're jumping right off down the seats and everything, like where the seats would be, coming right through the main like entry level down into the field. They'll be fun. It'll be cool.
That's cool.
Sounds like a lot of work.
I just get to watch it on TV, so it's all good. You're the one that has to do all the work. At least you'll have that beautiful California weather to close out the season, right?
Yeah, it'll probably rain every day.
Well, man, you like I said, you're a pretty busy guy. We won't let you hang on too much. I do appreciate you coming on, and we'll have to get Brian, our pro staff Brian, he lives down in Athens, so he's not too far from you. We'll have to get out there eventually when you have some time and fish some creeks, man. That would be
It'd be fun.
Yeah, it'd be fun for sure. I know you get down on those. So, yeah, man, Corey, thank you a lot for coming on.
Yeah.
You know, it's been fun as we kind of dive into this and just showcase the variety of people that really appreciate the outdoors and have different walks of life. So, thanks again, man. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah, I hope I didn't offend too many people with the crossbow, deer drive, and pay laking.
hey, to each their own, buddy. To each their own.
At least you're in the outdoors. That's all that matters.
That's right.
Exactly. He couldn't have said it any better. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you.
All right, everyone, that is all we have for you today. We really hope you enjoyed our conversation with Corey. It was really fun getting to know more about him and hearing about that crazy work schedule. And if you're a Peacock subscriber, don't miss the opportunity to catch Corey and the entire DirtWurx team in action this weekend at the SMX playoffs in Chicago. You know, we really enjoy featuring everyday outdoorsmen with exciting careers. It really helps highlight the value of our time spent outdoors because, let's face it, most of us aren't in the outdoor industry. And if you haven't already, go ahead and leave us a rating and review. We're really trying to boost that up. We have some great guests lined up for future episodes, and your feedback definitely helps get the show out to more people. Also, if you're on social media, check us out. We post highlight clips on just about every major platform. Just look for Vance Outdoors Inc. or Vance Outdoors INC. As always, we appreciate you listening, and until next time, enjoy the pursuit.